Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle Made Simple. And today, intermittent fasting, a hot lifestyle trend to lose weight and much, much more. We will cover the top 10 reasons to start implementing intermittent fasting this year. Intermittent fasting is a healthy lifestyle strategy, which is very hot right now. In the last 2 years, many celebs came out and stated that they are doing intermittent fasting. And they explain how it changed their lives. Terry Crews, from my favorite show right now, Brooklyn 99, said he's doing intermittent fasting. Let's hear what he has to say about it.
For the last 5 years, I have been doing intermittent fasting. And so what happens is I work out very, very early in the morning, but then I don't eat. My first meal is at 2 p.m. Over the last 5 years, it's really kept me in great shape. I can feel the difference. I literally can put pictures of myself now versus pictures of myself at 22 years old, and I look and feel much better right now.
And Terry's not alone. Joe Rogan, Hugh Jackman, Jennifer Lopez, Gisele Bündchen, and more are doing intermittent fasting. Why they are doing it, and how you can motivate yourself to do it. That's what we are going to cover today, the reasons to start implementing intermittent fasting. When it comes to us, mere mortals like you and me, the only reason to really implement intermittent fasting is because the celebs are doing it. That's it. That was a joke, of course. Personally, I've done tons of experiments with intermittent fasting, even before it was popular. Frankly, I happened to stumble upon it by accident when I did a very long fasting. And I didn't even recognize or heard the term intermittent fasting. And similarly to Terry, I love it. And if you want to join to the bandwagon, you need to understand why you're doing it. Even if you just choose one reason that resonates with you. The one that excites you the most. So if you need reasons to start, you're in luck, because today you'll get 10 of them. And by the end of this episode, you'll have not only the reasons to start, you'll have a clear understanding what is intermittent fasting, and understand the benefits and the reasons for your healthy body to implement it right now. You'll get the motivation boost that you need, the inspiration. So you could too say on interviews that you're doing intermittent fasting. In addition, this episode can help you if you even tried intermittent fasting before and didn't have the right mindset to keep with it. This episode will help you too with the motivation of intermittent fasting. A little disclaimer, we don't know completely the impact of intermittent fasting on pregnancy. So if you're pregnant, consult your doctor before starting intermittent fasting. Today we will cover the 10 reasons to implement intermittent fasting in a healthy lifestyle. But before, what is intermittent fasting? Let's define it, because if you're not completely sure what it is, I want to make it really simple for you. So let's take the term intermittent fasting. You know that fasting is not eating anything for a certain time, usually a day or more. And the definition of the word intermittent is, I'm quoting, not happening regularly or continuously, stopping and starting repeatedly, with periods in between. These two words together means that intermittent fasting is fasting for some part of the day, a window during the day that we restrict ourselves from eating. To be clear, let's separate fasting from intermittent fasting. If you fast all day long, that's a fast. What makes it intermittent is that you eat at some point during the day. And of course, we are talking about the waking hours. There are about 16 waking hours in a day. So you need to choose hours from those 16 hours and put a time that you will fast and a time that you can break the fast and eat. Another important point, intermittent fasting is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle habit, and that you do almost every day. If you happen to not eat anything for a day by mistake, this is not intermittent fasting, and it won't give you all the benefits we'll discover today. So now we understand what intermittent fasting is, let's talk about the top 10 reasons why you want to integrate intermittent fasting into your healthy lifestyle. The reason number one is that intermittent fasting helps to lose weight, but not because of the calories. When we want to lose weight, we really want to lose excess fat. We don't want to lose our bones, and definitely we don't want to lose fat from our brains. What we do want is to lose excess fat only. And this excess fat is located in two places. One is fat under the skin, which is dispersed throughout the body. And the second location is sometimes the belly fat. The belly fat located inside the organs in our belly. It's not under the skin. So these two types are the excess fat. And the theory is that if we eat fewer calories than what we spend every day, then the body will have no choice whatsoever but to burn that excess fat. The idea here, because we don't provide the body with enough energy from food, the body will have to use the stored energy, hopefully, from the stored fat. However, it is not that simple. Burning stored fat, from a metabolic perspective, the mechanisms in the body, is not that easy. For the body, burning the stored fat, it's a painful process. And the body is not happy to do it because this fat is a confidence for the body that we are going to survive in the future. Let's use how we save money as an analogy. Spending your child's college fund or your pension is painful. It's a precious storage, as opposed to cash or money sitting in the checking account in your bank. In this comparison, the incoming wages is like the food we eat. It's easy to burn and it's easy to spend. But for the body to use the storage fat, it's more like the very deep savings, and it requires training for the body to do it regularly if we want to lose weight. In addition to that, with age, we lose the ability to burn fat. All fat, including the fat we eat, and including the excess fat that is stored in the body. So counting calories becomes less and less effective with age. What becomes more effective is training our bodies to burn fat. And when we do intermittent fasting long enough and consistently, day in and day out, we tell our bodies it cannot depend on the calories from food. It cannot depend on the checking account, on the wages. The body has to go deep into deep savings every day. We train your body that it has to be dependent on energy from the stored fat. I would have to stress that this process of training the body doesn't happen immediately. But if you do intermittent fasting consistently and fast long enough, then there is going to be a time every day that your body will have to learn to burn that excess fat. And suddenly, everything you do to lose weight becomes more effective. Exercise becomes more effective to lose weight. Cutting down calories and food become more effective to lose weight. And not to mention that intermittent fasting over a few weeks suppresses the hunger hormones during the time that you fast consistently. So naturally, you'll eat less, which again also helps to lose weight, which is the excess fat. So all in all, intermittent fasting helps with weight loss. Let's move to the next reason. Reason number 2. Intermittent fasting puts stress on your body and makes you healthy as a result. Every time we put moderate stress on our bodies without damaging it, in the right dose, it makes us healthy. For example, with exercise. Putting calories aside, you essentially apply physical stress upon your body. After the exercise, your body begins to activate mechanisms that make you healthy. Fasting too puts stress on our system because it means a threat to the body that there is no food around. And intermittent fasting is like a mild stress that won't cause harm but will trigger this strengthening response, which is healthy. One thing that happens is that as a result of intermittent fasting, your body goes to the DNA, the library of books, and begins to work to make itself healthier, to make you healthier. And as a result, there are many health benefits to intermittent fasting, which includes technical words I would mention briefly. For example, intermittent fasting improves insulin resistance, which protects you from diabetes. It also reduces leptin resistance, which causes inflammation. Intermittent fasting helps with autophagy, which is cleaning out the bad cells and damaged proteins from inside of our bodies. In addition, intermittent fasting helps with detoxification, which is removing toxins out of the body. And more, but all in all, intermittent fasting is a type of mild stress that you put on your body, and it makes you healthier as a result. Let's move to the next reason. Reason number 3 to start implementing healthy lifestyle with intermittent fasting. You save money. I read that the average person in the US eats about 16 hours a day. Basically the entire waking hours. And in today's high-paced lifestyle, we usually don't have time to cook. So we need to eat in restaurants or get takeouts and ordering food deliveries. And let's be honest, most of us kinda need this to not starve. And when we do intermittent fasting, you already have a window where you eat nothing. You don't go to the restaurants, nor you order from food deliveries. So for that eating window, repeated almost every day, you're saving a bunch of money. It's practically thousands of dollars a year saved right there. Of course, you can always enjoy your restaurant eating in the eating window. Speaking of saving money, another way intermittent fasting saves you money is by not getting sick later, which is the most expensive thing, because being sick is expensive on its own, and it stops your income, so it's a double whammy. So you save both short-term and long-term money. And I would recommend investing those savings in another way, in your health, in buying higher quality foods for the time you do eat, in buying food supplements, which 99% of people don't use properly, and in your education about your health and your healthy lifestyle. That includes getting the help you need and the guidance that you need for programs, coaching, and so forth. Let's go to reason number 4 to apply intermittent fasting in your healthy lifestyle. Intermittent fasting preserves your youth. I assume that you're not familiar with the term youthfulness preservation, so let me explain. I will read a quote from a Stoic philosopher, Seneca, where he said, "Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You'll be able to use them better when you're older." End quote. Maturing with time is amazing. Every day you gain more experience, more knowledge. You know more about life itself and how to get what you want. You know more about who you are, what are your gifts to the world, and how to use them. But with this process of maturing, there is another process. An ominous, dangerous process that is similar to maturity, happens slowly every single day. This process is the reason why every year our bodies can make less energy than the year before. To demonstrate, you can observe that process with dogs. A puppy is full of energy, but very quickly, within several years, we can see how we lack the vitality we used to have. And it happens to us too, just slower. And as a result of that reduction of energy, besides our vitality, our brains too get less energy. And with that, we lose our creativity and imagination. Our memory also gets weaker. Our muscles, too, slowly but gradually lose speed and strength, starting at age 25. What is your favorite sport? Football, basketball, European football, baseball, cricket? Who is your favorite player? Just look around. Our favorite players and athletes lose speed, strength, and the ability to perform no matter how much and hard they train. In fact, the most successful athletes train harder near the end of their career than in the beginning. Yet they continue to lose speed and strength until they have to retire somewhere around the age of 34 to 40. So what's going on? It's the same process. This same process also weakens our immune system. That system that is responsible to get rid of viruses, bacteria, and even cancer cells. In the last pandemic, we could clearly see how the same virus affects people differently with every decade of age. It's the same virus, the same body, only the age is different. So what's going on here? Not to mention that we are losing our looks with time. We change. How we look change. It affects the careers of people who need their looks to work. For example, in the cinema world, our favorite actors and actresses need to change roles as their looks change. That process of the change in energy levels, speed and strength of the muscles, the weakening of our immune system, the change of our looks and our health is called the loss of youthfulness. And it doesn't happen at age 60, 70, or 80. It happens now, every single day. But I wouldn't tell you all that if there weren't things you could do right now. Luckily, we can do many things to preserve that youth. And the philosopher Seneca said, to hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. But Seneca could not do it. We did not know how to do it 2,000 years ago. But you can. Today, we know more and more about that process and how to preserve that gift that we have inside of our bodies. The result of preserving your youth is having a body that is truly younger than your real age. And with it, younger and stronger immune system, stronger muscles, more energy, vital and energetic brain, and younger looks. How do you do that? There are many strategies to achieve that. Intermittent fasting is just one of them. I heard Dr. Sinclair, a professor from Harvard, stating that you could put animals on intermittent fasting, and when they operate the animals have younger livers, younger tissues inside of them when you compare them to exact animal that eats all the time. Dr. Sinclair even says that he himself applies this strategy. Let's listen to him explaining that.
So why don't I give you an example of what I do as you know, I do a fair bit of research and I've come up with my own best practices. So I do intermittent fasting. Now there are a variety of those, and I think many of your listeners probably know them by name, but there's fast every other day, there's fast 2 days out of 5, there's skip breakfast and perhaps have a late lunch and don't have a late dinner as well. That's the one that I prefer. I find it easier to skip breakfast and have a late lunch than to really go through days of being hungry. I can't tolerate it for too long, but I don't mind hunger pains for a few hours.
So intermittent fasting is one strategy to preserve youthfulness. Why it works, you wonder? It simply stresses the body in a way that preserves youthfulness. I explain more about the top 3 strategies to preserve youthfulness naturally in my podcast, episode 19. You can simply Google my name, Ramon Lumen, with -19, and you will get it. It's free, of course. Let's move to the next reason to implement intermittent fasting. Reason number 5, saving precious time. In my parents' generation, they used to say, time equals money. And I think today, in our generation, time is worth much more than money. We are willing to pay much more to achieve the same thing for less time. We are looking for more and more ways to save time. And intermittent fasting is a massive time-saving strategy, especially if you have made the choice that you want to live a healthy lifestyle. Let me explain. Living a healthy lifestyle means that we can no longer afford to eat 3 times a day at restaurants and grabbing takeouts. We need to get a complete control over the ingredients, and for that, we need to prepare and cook healthy meals. But the shopping for the food, the preparation, the cooking, the cleaning after takes a long time. And that sounds extreme, but even eating 3 or 4 or 5 times a day takes time, especially if we sit down and we want to eat slowly, like we should. So that takes time too, and in addition to that, when we eat a heavy meal, when we want to get back to work, there is a recuperation time. The time it takes from digesting a meal to getting back to our best focus. So all that together accumulates to a good chunk of our waking hours in just dealing with food. When you intermittent fast, depending on your fasting window, you save all that time. How much? It depends on your lifestyle. Personally, I freed up at least 2 hours every day comparing to my previous schedule. I even discovered that I need to sleep less, so I get time saving from there too. When you do that almost every day, you save a massive amount of time, and it all accumulates over the year. So intermittent fasting will beat most time management systems out there. And I'm sure that you too want to be more productive. If you want to improve productivity, intermittent fasting will help you too. Because intermittent fasting also improves your focus, which is the next reason. Reason number 6. Intermittent fasting improves focus and concentration. Digestion is a very tiring activity for our bodies. It takes a lot of energy. Think for a moment about what digestion of food really is. Digestion is taking those meals and foods that we see, feel, and eat and breaking them down to tiny, tiny blocks our eyes cannot even see. In addition, in the process of digestion, our body needs to remove toxins from foods. Yes, there are toxins in the food we eat, so the body has to filter those toxins as we consume the nutrients. This filtration is very tiring. Think about how tiring it is for you if I were to give you 10,000 needles and you will need to separate between red needles and green needles. That's one heck of a job your body does every time you eat. Our bodies have limited energy at any moment, and your brain and your digestive system, the stomach, the gut, the liver together, are all competing for that energy. When we eat heavy meals, the digestion sucks all the energy, and the brain doesn't have much left, and it reduces our focus and concentration. I suggest you remember or notice in the future how focused you are after a heavy meal. In intermittent fasting, we're taking time where we are freeing our bodies from that consuming activity of eating and digesting, and we free more energy for the brain to be focused and concentrated. But it requires adaptation. It takes time, a few weeks. At first, when you fast and work, your stomach will bug you. That hurts focus too. But with time, as I said, the hunger hormone, ghrelin, will go down, and you will be free from that annoying hunger, and your focus will improve. Let's move on. Are you with me? Reason number 7. Intermittent fasting is actually easier than limiting food all day long. How come not eating is easier than limiting how much we eat? Intuitively, it makes no sense, and I did not expect it myself either, but it does. When you limit how much food you eat, and it could be counting calories, limiting carbs, fat, and personally, I counted for years my total protein intake every day, and I can tell you, that's exhausting. When we count food, what happens is that you go through the day and you need to say no to food all the time, which is more and more decisions, or you need to be in control all the time. That's exhausting. But when you have the habit of not eating in certain hours, 2 things happen. First, the hunger hormone, ghrelin, goes down during this time, so your body won't make you hungry. And 2, you don't need to count anything, and you don't need to make a decision on the spot. You simply don't eat. No negotiation is easier than limiting and counting foods and making decisions. By removing options and removing decisions, we simplify the way. It actually becomes easier. And when you define times of the day that are non-negotiable, that you cannot eat, it's actually easier than limiting how much you eat. And that's exactly what we do in intermittent fasting. And by the way, the concept of non-negotiable habits is extremely powerful when you apply healthy habits. I explain this in my podcast. You'll get this episode when you go to my website domain, RamonWellness/21, which is the episode number. So, intermittent fasting, pre-deciding ahead of time about times you won't eat, is essentially a non-negotiable habit, and it makes it easier to implement. Let's move on. Ready? Reason number 8. We pay less for our mistakes. Listen, we're all human beings, and we all have the tendency, sometimes, to eat more than what is doing good for our bodies. And if you think for a second that when I eat, I don't have the impulse to continue eating until my stomach explodes, just because I know what it does to my body scientifically, then I'm telling you, I do too have the desire to eat more than what makes my body feel good. So I'm going to make mistakes from time to time. and I suspect that you too are human. And by limiting the hours that we eat, even if we stray and we make mistakes, we simply have less time to eat. So we limit the mistakes and the overeating for the eating window. The damage we do to our bodies from overeating and binge eating is lower, which improves our health in a very practical way. Let's move on. 2 reasons left. Listen to this. Reason number 9. Intermittent fasting helps to reduce the connection we have between food and survival. About 200 years ago and further back, not eating meant that you might die from famine. In most of our history, eating was required for survival. Humans who did not eat as much as possible when they had food simply didn't make it. Today, it's quite the opposite. Eating too much is a risk for dying. So eating today is a risk for not surviving. But our bodies are pretty much programmed to the past. So our body feels that if we don't eat, it will not survive. And that makes it really difficult to keep a healthy diet. Besides, throughout our entire lives, we were fed continuously. We had to. Think about this for a second. When we were born, our parents fed us every 3 hours. We must be fed to survive and develop. Then this feeding cycle continues in some form as long as we grow. Complete growth for men is around age 21, women sooner probably. So up to this time, age 19 to 21, we should properly and continuously feed ourselves just to grow. But there is a time that you don't want to get cancer, diabetes, heart disease. When we do want to lose weight and be healthy, this continuous feeding isn't of service to us anymore. But our bodies are still afraid of not eating. They are still afraid of fasting. So survival eating still kicks strong, and there is a lot of fear about the idea of not eating. When you integrate intermittent fasting, or any fasting for that matter, your body sees a pattern. I didn't eat, and nothing bad happened. I survived. Psychologically, intermittent fasting helps to reduce the fear of not eating. The fear that is so ingrained within our bodies, within our psyche. And by the way, this fear is mostly irrational, because you would be surprised how little our bodies need to survive. There is a massive intelligence inside of you that knows exactly what to do when we don't eat. The body has amazing ability to recycle nutrients and bad stuff in more things. So, the bottom line, intermittent fasting helps to disconnect this connection between eating and surviving. And all in all, it helps in integrating and applying a healthy lifestyle. Let's move to the last reason, and that could be the most important one. Reason number 10. Intermittent fasting leads to personal growth. This one I actually took from an audience I had in Clubhouse. A lovely lady there said how intermittent fasting changed her life because it led her to grow as a person. I never thought about it when she said it, and after the session, I realized how right she was. And to show that to you, I'll take another quote from a Stoic philosopher, this one different. His name is Epictetus. He said, quoting, "It is the nature of the wise to resist pleasures, but the foolish to be a slave to them." Intermittent fasting is a great way to train resisting pleasure, and that leads to success and happiness in almost any other area. Success in relationships, money, career, all those require the ability to resist short-term pleasure. For example, not cheating on a romantic partner requires resisting pleasures. To not spend every money in your pocket requires resisting pleasures. To succeed in a career requires resisting temptation of laziness. So I suggest viewing intermittent fasting as a personal growth tool to become your best self, and as a tool for success in almost any other area. These are for the 10 reasons to implement intermittent fasting today. On the next episode is about step-by-step guide to start implementing intermittent fasting in a way that suits you personally. It's not out yet, but there are 2 ways to get it when it's out. First, subscribe. I'm in all platforms, Spotify, Apple, Overcast, and I even upload on YouTube. Another way is when you go to my website, RamonWellness.com, you can choose any gift, any wellness gift you want on the main page. So once you choose the gift, you will also get subscription, and you will stay subscribed as long as you open my emails. Before I let you go, if you want to ask me questions live, connect, and meet other people on the path of intermittent fasting, then I invite you to connect with me on Clubhouse. Search my name, Ramon Lumen, and I host their events continuously. And I have a unique club called the Intermittent Fasting Club. So you're invited to join as long as I'm active on this platform as we speak. Has this episode gave you any insight? I hope it has. Don't forget to subscribe. We have new episodes every 2 weeks. I'm wishing you a wonderful day. And remember, youth is the goal. A healthy lifestyle is the way. And simplicity is the key.